Welcome to another G4 Guitar Business Show. My name is David Hart. Today I have a very special guest who has a very interesting story, and his name is Ian O'Brien. Now, the reason I've decided to bring Ian onto the show is because he's one of these very creative type entrepreneurs, and as you'll see as we get into it. And the idea of this show is to talk to different people who are guitarists, teaching mostly, or in the area of teaching music, who are doing creative things, because we no longer live in that world that we once lived in, where everybody just taught guitar from a studio and did the same old thing. As you're going to see with Ian, he's doing something quite different. So let's just jump into it now. Ian, first of all, I'm going to go through three things, and I'll just outline them now, and then I'll bring you into the conversation. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is teaching guitar online, which is one thing Ian's doing. He's got a group on Facebook, and he's got students that he's teaching via an online method. The other is that he's doing microloans, which is very interesting. We're going to talk about that a little bit more as well. And that's microloans going to, say, underdeveloped countries. And his 99 countries, 99 songs project, which is, again, I won't give anything away just yet, and we'll talk about it further into the interview. So, yeah, welcome, Ian. Thank you for dropping by.
Hi, thank you, David. Thanks for such a lovely introduction, and I'm glad to be here. And hello to your listeners out there, and hopefully I can tell my story, and you'll see that we're all in this together, really, with our kind of guitar-based business and adventures, live stories, and we'll all get something good from it, I think.
Yeah, absolutely, and I really like that something that I'm coming to learn about you, which I really like, and from watching your group and the comments and things that you make, that is that you're kind of a community kind of guy. You want to help, you want to do things. It's not just about you trying to make a bit of money, which we all try to do in this space, but you're trying to do things for the community, for the world at large. Which I can just tell by the projects that you're involved in. So I think you're a real inspiration. I'm not trying to, pump you up here. I'm just telling you as I see it. I'm a pretty straight talker, and what I see is somebody who really cares about the community, the world, the environment, etc. So, with that, let's jump into your teaching guitar online. What is well? Even before we do that, where are you? I can see a big kind of moon in the background. Where are you right now?
Yeah, I thought it would be a bit of fun, but at the moment I'm in my hometown. I move about quite a lot, but I'm in the centre of Norwich. It's a place called the Forum, and what's happening? We're gearing up for a kind of cultural festival at the moment, which is why I'm here. I'm doing a lot of rehearsals at the moment for a project. It's themed around sleep. Basically, we're going to keep people awake all night, introduce them late into the night with music, and then interfere with their sleep and perform during the night, and then in the morning, and then everyone gets to go home. And that's what I'm rehearsing for. And part of the festival is there's a few crazy art things around, and there's this giant moon that's been put up. So I thought it would be a good backdrop there. And actually under the moon, I don't know if you guys can see it there, but there's deck chairs set out so you can kind of moon bathe. I thought it would be...
Right. And so that's Norwich in the UK. Is that where you are right now?
Yes, Norwich, UK, yes. That's it, yeah. East Anglia is the sort of region. Yeah.
Excellent. So tell us about your teaching guitar online. What are you actually doing there? How does that work? How long have you been doing it?
Right. Okay. Well, yeah, it begins with what you were saying before about community, really. Like you said, I think it's true for a lot of us. We're not just isolated as musicians, once you first pick up that guitar, those tentative moments, and you're trying to figure out what to do from there, it's like almost opening the door to like a secret society or something. Like there's everyone in the world, you can meet people, you can identify with them. I always think it's funny, like occasionally people will in a bar well, not just in bars, anywhere, they'll look at my I'm thinking of a particular situation, they'll look at my hand, my left hand, and my nails, and they'll either be like, whoa, that's weird, or they'll be like, you're a guitar player. And there's this kind of like secret club of musicians, I think. And so with the teaching business, one of the main things that I do is I run a Facebook community group. It's absolutely free, and what I do there is it's kind of the public facing, the beginning thing of it, of my business, is that it's called Guitar Learning Questions. So the idea is that people who are having trouble with any aspect of guitar or just want motivation, stuff like that, they can ask a question, jump in the group, and I'll you know, try to help them as best I can. It's not just me, it's a strong community of guitar players.
Yes,
And
it is. Yeah, I've noticed that there's other people contributing, and it's really good. It's really good.
Excellent, thanks. And that's indeed how we met. And that's sort of you know, the public facing sort of bit. So I try to help in general, but then in terms of teaching online, it all comes back to something I've got that's the process. It's kind of a nickname, and it's sort of my approach to teaching, my kind of structured method, breaking everything down into modules and individual things, because I noticed in this day and age, I mean, obviously I'm a traditional guitar teacher. I have in-person students, and my background is, you know, and doing workshops and stuff like that. To bring it online is I notice people have specific problems. They're, you know, some people will be learning from YouTube and that kind of stuff, tab sites, chord sites. There's so many resources out there, but they can be confusing. So the way I operate is my individual courses are based on with a particular area they might have trouble with. So rather than them being like, oh, I want to buy like Ian's The Process, like whole method of learning guitar, it's like maybe they're having a problem strumming, like they're maybe, and that just the up strum isn't working, or they're not getting the right strings when they strum the different chords, whether it's, you know, missing the E and the A or missing the E, that kind of stuff. And so I'll have a course designed around solving a particular problem.
Fantastic.
And each of these courses are standalone, and then they're all together in my members area, which is called The Process. And that's kind of how I do it. I give kind of full-time support in terms of email, and I make videos to help my members with their individual situations. But within my members area, it's courses for specific situations, and it's structured to gradually guide them through and progress one element at a time. And that's how I do it online. I've been doing it for under 2 years now. It's about a year and a half. And for me, it feels very much like early days with the transitioning to more online, because I'm moving about more, and that's something I want to do. I feel like I want to reach more people and help more people. I've done a lot of in-person teaching, and I just want to try something different.
So, because what I want to do is dig into that a little bit more as we get into this, and because I think a lot of guitar teachers, not just guitar teachers, but a lot of music teachers out there are wondering about this online stuff. You know, is it the way things are going? Should they be thinking about it? Should they be doing it? Should they just focus on what they're doing? And I think, you know, all of the above, really. I think we're no longer confined to just teaching in a studio, teaching, you know, face to face. The online just opens up another world, but it doesn't mean that everyone wants to suddenly learn online and nobody will learn the traditional way, so to speak. So we'll talk about that a little bit more, but just to sort of roll back a little bit, when did you first start teaching? How long have you been teaching now?
I've been teaching about 12 years. That's it, really. Always grew up playing in bands. I always felt like I couldn't make money from my music other than like quite a grassroots level. I grew up, it sounds funny to say this because as an adult, I'm in a very different place and a lot more open-minded, but I grew up making pretty noisy, kind of scrappy, kind of hardcore, kind of punky, but kind of post-punky. There's so many different genres and terminologies and things like this, but it was a very scene based, and it was international. We could tour and things like that, but it was a part of the music world where maybe if you were making much money from your music, it was seen maybe a little bit negatively, a little bit like it's sold out, something like that, and you should just do it for the love of it, and all that kind of stuff. And that old story, really. People begin to ask you like, oh, what are you doing? They're pretty weird chords. Like, what? Can you show me some stuff? And it began like that. Gradually I'd take on a student, it would just be a friend, and eventually it's like I can do this quite well. Like, I'm quite a good communicator, I hope. I'm a massive learning geek, so that really helps. Like, obsessed with the way people's brains work and how we learn things. I like to try and learn foreign languages, and I read that stuff all the time, and weird studies on recall and all this kind of stuff. And I think it helped. It just feeds in learning the stuff that I love and I'm interested in, and how that filters back into it. It's just really felt like the right thing.
It's that learning. When you're learning something, there's nothing better than teaching it, because it's kind of like you want, you know, when you teach something that you've learned, you're kind of imprinting it onto your own brain, and you're creating an experience around it, so you remember it better, I find.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree with you completely. This kind of over-learning thing, you don't learn it until you've got it right. You learn it until you can't get it wrong. And somebody who's a non-musician, or somebody who doesn't do, I don't know, sports, or I think exercise is probably similar in athletics and that kind of stuff, and learning languages and stuff. This amount of repetition, but in such a way that it doesn't become boring, or it doesn't become like disciplined. It's to go that much further, like to decide to keep doing the one thing on one path, and to progress that way. I think for a complete beginner, it's surprising how many times you have to do the same thing at first, I think. I always remember a quote. He's not really an idol of mine or anything, but I think he's awesome. Eddie Van Halen, he said something like, I don't know why people think I'm cool, because I sit in a room and I twiddle my fingers exactly the same way over and over again for hours. And what's cool about that? Like, it's...
Yep.
I don't know. It's funny.
Well, you know, there's a term in Japan called otaku, and otaku is basically a nerd. And there are what they're called guitar otakus. And they're you know, because the difference between a computer nerd and a guitar nerd is really no different. Just for some reason, because you got a guitar and you get up on stage and you play really cool, you're cool. But you know, really the background of most you know, especially highly skilled guitar players, is they're nerds. They sit in rooms for hours every day, just, you know, working out how to play lines and practicing. So, you know, there's no difference to some guy sitting on a computer, you know, doing code. The best guitarists, you know, when you get down to it, they're nerds. Let's be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. Self-confessed.
That's it. You just, you know, and I know one of the best guitar players when I was a kid, growing up as a teenager. He was just an awesome player. Like we were in our area, you know, there's always that one kid who's everybody's sort of thinking, wow, this guy, how does he do it? But he confessed to me one day. He said he didn't really like associating with people. He preferred to sit in a room and practice, and he used to practice like 6 to 8 hours a day, you know, sometimes 12 hours a day, just because he wasn't very good with people. He didn't want to hang around people. He just wanted to be in his own space. So he sat there learning Malmsteen. And there was me, you know, and the rest of the guys my age were looking at him and thinking, how do you do it? You know, this guy's a freak. But it was because he was practicing so much. So
he was putting the time in.
Yeah, and Eddie was the same. Eddie Van Halen. Him and his brother. The interesting story about Eddie is that him and his brother, they didn't speak very good English because they came from Holland, and so when they got to America, they really couldn't speak any English, and so they used to just hang together at home. Most of the time, they stayed in their room practicing at home because they couldn't talk to anybody else. They didn't know what to do. So that's what they were into. Their years of classical piano prior to their guitar didn't hurt as well, mind you. So okay, so you got into teaching. You started to find that you had a kind of a natural knack for it, or you enjoyed the teaching, because obviously teaching is the same as guitar playing. There's a learning curve there, and I think what really helps you in the beginning is the fact that you enjoy the sharing and the imparting of knowledge. But I know in my case it was the same. I really enjoyed teaching other people, but I wasn't necessarily very good at it. I look back and think, well, I was actually terrible, but because I didn't really know how to teach, I didn't understand the concepts. I just liked sharing what I knew. So are there any specific, like for a beginner teacher, any specific recommendations you would give them?
Yeah, I would. What I would say is I think this is going to sound a bit vague, but I'm not going to talk about a book or a methodology and stuff like that, because what I think it really begins with it begins with kind of empathy. It begins with looking at your student and really talking to them. It begins with just by listening, like where are, like what do they want to do? Like you're the guides, like you're the Yoda. You're not the Skywalker. You're not like, I'm the hotshot teacher, come on, respect. For me, it's like, you know, not being egotistical, melting into the background a little bit, so that their learning experience is seamless. So it's talking to them, like, what do they want? What are they struggling with? And using that as key points. I mean, of course, I do have a methodology. I have in my head. I've seen countless situation problems and students who like certain styles of music, so I think I know how to lead them through it. But from the start, like, it might feel like you know what's best for them, but you need to know what they're having trouble with, what they want to be able to do, and of course, and guide them. Like, everyone knows there's students who come along with a unrealistic sense of what they can do this week, and they're like, oh, I've just started playing guitar. What's sweep picking? Teach me to sweep pick. And I know I'm not one of those crazy speed players. Like, that's not what excites me. So but if somebody, it's week 1 and they're like, oh, I want to learn speed picking, you know, into finding sort of stoking a fire of excitement and motivation to what they really want to play. Because I don't know, for me, like, blazing up and down the fretboard, it's not fulfilling to me. So maybe if I went to a teacher and they were all about that and encouraged that, it wouldn't be right for me, and maybe I wouldn't be playing guitar today. So it's
not assuming, which is great. It's not assuming that just because, let's just say, for me personally, let's say I love jazz, right? Just assuming everybody loves jazz, everybody should learn jazz because I love jazz. It's what you're talking about, which is fantastic, is having the empathy and going, okay, what does this person want from guitar? Is shredding something that they want? Do they want to play jazz? Do they want to play love songs? Do they want to play country music? Do they want to, just do it as a way of expressing themselves? Do they want to be a composer? When I did guitar, that was really what I wanted to do. I was inspired by the bands of the 70s, 60s, 70s, like Led Zeppelin, even the Beatles, Eagles. These were the kind of bands that really inspired me, David Bowie. And so I wanted to write songs. It wasn't really even about playing guitar. I was not one of those guitar hero type people where, hey, I want to be a guitar hero. I didn't think of it like that. I thought about it as an instrument to actually express, and as an artist. So yeah, everybody has something different. So if I came to a teacher and they said, oh man, I'm going to show you how to shred and sweep and whatever, I would think, well, what's that got to do with the music I want to play? But for another student, that could be, yes, spot on. Yes, this is great, exactly what I want. So I totally get what you're saying. So it's all about the empathy, right?
Yeah, empathy. I think it begins there, and I think it's okay to have a thing that you specialize in. And like you, I really care about songs and how music's put together. And for me, it's about communicating something. For players who are interested in speed and intensity and that kind of stuff, it's okay to say, I'm not the best teacher for you, and to direct somebody to that guy down the road who maybe some people think of them as rivals, but if you can find the right student for them, they in turn will find the right students for you. And you can have relationships with other teachers.
Yep.
It doesn't have to be a rivalry.
Yeah, and I love that whole concept of not seeing other guitar teachers as rivals, seeing them as really, network with them. Think about them as people you can work with, and getting other guitar teachers together. You can run workshops. You can create a bigger pie for everybody. I love that idea. Yeah. So
absolutely.
In terms of if we just look at the business side of it, you know, from where did you sort of transition from, okay, I want to teach a few friends, I like the teaching. When would you say you felt that it became a business where you were, you know, was there a point where you decided, okay, I'm going to teach full time, or is it always been a part-time thing?
Yeah.
What happened?
It was. It was kind of thrust upon me. I was, you know, a starving artist, playing music, touring, that kind of stuff. As soon as you stop touring, selling merch and that kind of thing, you need to get jobs often, like in the holidays and stuff like that, and then get back on the road. And it was very that kind of thing. I was young and I absolutely loved the lifestyle, but when coming back, I wanted to find something a bit more stable. So to cut a long story short, I started working in a restaurant, and it was a cooperative restaurant, and the business, it was a friend of mine, his kind of thing, and he said, oh, come on board, and all this kind of stuff, and it didn't work out. It failed. So I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do for money? I've just lost this job and stuff, and I committed to it. I was like, okay, I have to make this work now. I want to make my life out of music. And I had a few students here and there. It was a bit part-time, and I was like, right, I'm going to make this work now, kind of thing. And I did it from there. It didn't work out straight away. I ended up getting myself a part-time job that fitted in. I ended up getting a job really early in the morning, working on trains and just crazy stuff. Nothing to do with anything I wanted to do, because it fitted in. It meant that I was free for the peak times when students are available. And
yep,
gradually to transition like that. And
so how did you go about getting students? This is one of the hot questions of my viewers is, how do I get more students? And the idea with these interviews and videos is I'm trying to collect all this wisdom from those who have succeeded at doing. So what are one or more of the ways that you find students?
Okay. Well, now it's quite different. But if I have students that I'm teaching over Skype or in person, they come to me because I have a reputation in my area or within certain people, and they like what I do, and so I don't actively advertise in that sense. I advertise for the online members area, that kind of stuff. But when I first began, basically what I did, I don't know if it was like a really good idea or a fluke or anything like that, but what happened was I moved to the area of town that was full of families, okay, that had a reasonable a reasonable income. It was sort of not like a crazy wealthy area, but it was the area where people moved when they were settling into a kind of life. There was lots of youngsters, there was older people as well, and I flyed door to door, and I think I priced myself way too cheap, but I built up a mass of people very quickly just from this really naive looking flyer, because I was walking around in my local neighborhood and talking to people, and they got to know me as like, oh, you're the local person, and you're there, and I can talk to you, and
so were you
word of mouth gathered through that.
So it wasn't just putting flyers in people's sort of mail slots, it was also talking to people as well?
Well, not directly, no. If people would call about the flyer, or I'd see them when I was walking around, and they'd be like, what are you doing? And I'd be like, I just moved to the area, and a very community focused kind of thing. I didn't do any kind of, I don't know if they're like a trick or something, other than the fact that the area was definitely an area where people were at the stage where they were taking on learning instruments, and they were largely people who had a certain amount of disposable income to, or committed to invest in their children and also themselves.
Yep.
It was like that, really.
Well, the flyers, one of the big things that I push. It's a little bit harder for the guys in the US because there's the laws that restrict them from doing these things, but they can do things like door hangers, which require a bit more work, but they seem to get more response from them. And those guys in the US who have done them have done quite well that I work with. But the guys that I work with in the UK and Australia, the flyers, they win hands down above any other marketing. There's no better way to get, because you're going directly to people in your community. You know, the difference with, say, online marketing, which I'm still a big fan of, and you know, anyone who knows me knows that I endorse certain types of online marketing. But the idea of you know, the flyer is that you're not really competing with anyone, because when someone gets a flyer in their mailbox or letterbox, then they're not looking online. You know, online it's very easy to get distracted. There's a million things going on all at one time. Whereas when you got a flyer, you just got the flyer, and yeah, they work well. So that's great. And if you priced it right, obviously, would you say, obviously, it sounds like you were under the standard pricing. Do you say that that was appealing for people because it was an appealing price?
I think for some people, yes, it began the conversation, and then it wasn't like desperately low, but it was definitely under the kind of going rate a little bit. And yeah. I think it began the conversation, but yeah, I do. Because
I would say to any, you know, and you're kind of giving me ideas here, but I would say to any guitar teacher that's starting out, if they really want to go out there and get things started, yeah, give a low ball price. Start off low. And then you'll get the calls, and I think just getting that experience of having people going, oh, okay, and you know, I have a rough idea of what people pay in the UK, but this, let's say that it says £5 for a lesson, right, which is pretty cheap, I'm sure, and to say £5 for you know, a 30-minute guitar lesson, people ring up and go, hey, look, saw your £5 guitar lesson, I want to give it a go. And so I think just getting the experience, if you're a beginner teacher, that would be great. And it sounds like, you know, obviously if you're getting those students, and I know that experience too, you get a lot of students, you get more experience quickly, get more confident on the phone, etc. Would you say that's true for you?
Yes, absolutely. Exactly what you're saying. I think I wouldn't advise anyone to go as low as £5, but in this day and age, maybe something like 15 or something like that. Wherever you look online and you look in your local area, you will see guitar teachers charging a lot, and you will see guitar teachers charging very little. So it's difficult to compete in that way, but I get what you're saying, and I agree. Price yourself so that you have a lot of people calling you and a lot of people coming to you, even if they're people who just want a bargain and they're not maybe the best kind of long-term people, because you want to create a situation where you're learning as fast as possible from interacting with these people, even just learning to communicate on the phone and to ask the right questions for them, etc., etc. I don't mean to learn to become all salesy. I mean really to learn to listen to them and to communicate with them.
Yeah, and really, the point that I make about sales is that sales is not about conning people. It's about communicating and listening. You know, if we want to, you know, think of the positive of a salesperson, like a positive image of a salesperson is someone who is a really good listener, that understands what the person's wanting, and then knows how to communicate back to them in such a way that they build confidence. And yeah, that's really what it's about.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So when it comes, let's just go to the next stage. When it comes to the call, because that's kind of what we're leading here, and someone rings up and inquires about lessons, what do you say to them? If I'm ringing up and saying, look, I got your flyer for your £15 lessons, looks interesting, can you tell me more about it? Where do you go from there?
I turn it back to them so I can find out more about them, and I would say I would try to, in a way, make a real human connection with them and have and not just answer factual questions. Like a lot of people ring up and say, how much are lessons? But if you just say, oh, they're this much, the conversation's over. Like to ask open-ended questions and to find out what it is, why they want to learn, what they're excited about, and then you can talk in a knowledgeable way to show them that you know where they're coming from. Maybe you know a little bit about the music they're interested in. Like at the moment with youngsters and older people as well, up to 40 and even older, people call and they say, I really want to learn pop music. I want to learn Taylor Swift. I want to learn Ed Sheeran. I don't know. I think that's international. I don't know if that's local, because I taught at the music college where Ed where Ed attended. So I don't think it's just a local thing to hear.
No, no, it's very international. Ed Sheeran is huge in Australia. Yep.
I think that so straight away I can say, oh, what's your favorite song, and you instantly have you have an idea of the way he plays guitar and what he's doing. You know that they're going to be learning their open chords. A bit further on, they're going to be getting used to a little bit of percussive technique, and you can talk about that. You know, the songs that you like, whether it's the ballads or whether it's a bit more upbeat, clubby kind of stuff. You can show them that you know what they're talking about, and talk to them a little bit about it, and then confirm that you absolutely can help them. Because also that conversation is a filter. If they're like, oh, teach me modal jazz, and you're not a modal jazz guy, you can say, look, it's not my area of specialty. It doesn't mean that you're not good enough to teach guitar. It just means it's not the thing that you teach. So that conversation is important.
Yeah, you're not talking to a beginner if they're using that terminology as well. Look, I really want to dig into the Phrygian mode. Can you teach me a bunch of tunes that use Phrygian and solo? It's like, well, maybe if that's if that's not your comfort zone, then you say, well, I think you probably would be better off with a jazz specialist or whatever. Yeah,
absolutely. So real human level, and find out what they want to do, and confirm that you're able to do that. I always ask if the lessons are for themselves as well, because they may be asking these questions because it's for a youngster. Maybe they're a parent or a guardian. Maybe they're for themselves, or maybe it's a gift for somebody. So
so never assuming, right? Always try and find out who you're talking to, get to know the person, and who is it for. As I often talk about, find out who the decision maker is, because often you can be talking to the person, you can totally convince them, but they're not the one who's actually going to make the decision on whether or not this goes ahead. So that's great. So let's say that we get to the point where they say, okay, sign me up. Where do you go from there? What happens when they come to you for the first lesson? How do you go about delivering your very first lesson?
Right. Okay. Well, it depends where they are. Let's say they're a complete beginner. In my example before.
Yeah, let's assume they're a beginner. Yep.
The modern pop stuff, and a lot of that stuff, it's 3-chord songs, 3 or 4 chords. It's not sophisticated in terms of technically on the guitar. So I find out, I talk to them about how I like to do things, and what I explain. I do a couple of things. First is I want them to get the principles of things like posture and grip and stuff like that, and to relax around the guitar, because I find that tension students is something that inhibits their ability to play and swap chords and stuff like that. So I start off in the most relaxed way possible, so that, because students, especially in the first lesson, are usually terrified, and they won't say it. And then my main aim during that lesson is to show them that they can actually do it, by getting them to actually do it. So get them to play a short tune or riff or something that they recognize, that is fitting in with their music.
Yep.
By the end of the session.
Excellent.
So good starting principles and a quick win, and then look at where we go from there into the future. So I tell them I don't just want to give them a course full of exercises or teach them a bunch of music that I think is cool. That I want to ask them over time the kind of music that they like, and build up a list of songs and artists and stuff like that, so that we can pick and choose from that list, and I can structure it so maybe there's a song that they love now that they're not ready for yet, but we can put it further down the line. I can take these songs that are more doable, and I can plan the lessons around playing that stuff quicker. So I teach technique and things like that, and theory, which I think is important, but it's structured around little goals of songs that they like, so I set them up for how it will be in the future, and kind of explain that, but also really begin that process from day one, get them doing something that they're like, oh wow, I can do it.
Yeah, excellent, excellent. Yeah, so it's about connecting their goals with what you're doing and keeping it relevant the whole time. Is
Right.
that? Yep, excellent.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
because it's one of the things, and it's surprising that, because I've worked with a lot of teachers, I've trained a lot of guitar teachers over the years, and even though they have good intentions and they really want to do well, I've yet to meet a guitar teacher who doesn't really care about their students. They all care, but what happens some of the time is that they don't equate what the student wants to learn with what they're teaching, and there's an old saying in sales or marketing of, market what people want, but give them what they need. And I think that same thing applies to your teaching, and to remember that you're always marketing, that you're always selling yourself on the next lesson. If they're not convinced, they didn't have a good lesson, they didn't feel that lesson was of value, because remember, they're paying for that time. They're going to very quickly think, oh, I'm wasting my money. I just spent, however many pounds doing a lesson, and I don't want to pay that same amount next week to just get another, what I would consider a valueless lesson. So so the point there is very much that they have to see, okay, if I'm learning, I'm practicing picking, I'm learning scales, I'm doing chords, I'm doing rhythm, all the skills which they have to learn, which is what is what they need to learn versus what they want to learn. If you can connect that back to what they want to do, they can see that, okay, that rhythm fits in and connects with that Ed Sheeran song. That's why we're doing this. That makes sense. So yeah, that's really good. And it's
absolutely, absolutely.
It's interesting that it seems obvious, but yet it gets missed. I would say 80% of the time. And I'm not trying to be critical here of teachers generally. I'm trying to just make teachers aware, because I'm not talking from the fact that I'm this up on this pedestal looking down. I'm talking from my own experience. I spent years teaching in my own head rather than from the perspective of the student, not realizing why I was losing students, and understand, having that empathy, which is really what this is coming back to again and again. And I think that is a big strength of yours, is that ability to have that empathy with your students. Would you say that that's a strength for you, or a big thing for you?
I feel like it really is. Yes.
Yeah. Absolutely. Brilliant. So I think, and we've got more to talk about here, but I think at this point, I just want to make this to anyone who's watching this, that the point that empathy is a big part of what you do. And if you don't take that, the takeaway here from Ian is the fact that he's really put a lot of emphasis on empathy. And if you can bring that, even if I'd go to the extreme of saying that even if you have nothing else, even if you're not a very good guitarist or even a very good teacher per se, if you have empathy with people connect with you, they like you, I don't know about you, but I've done things, I've contributed to things, I've given to charities, I've done things because I like the person, not because I particularly care about the charity or even what they're doing. Not even, it mightn't even been very good. I've been in shops, we've all been there, where you bought something off the person just because you think they're a nice person. I don't even need what they're selling, but I'm going to buy it anyway because I like them. Right? So yeah, I feel I know them. So yeah. Excellent.
Yeah, and I wanted to add to that, to cross the bridge between offline and online. The online stuff, it's an extension of that. Like it sometimes when you see like people, maybe they're clicking on your website or they're buying a thing and you see it in the shopping cart and this kind of stuff, you have to remember they're real people, and to reach out with them and connect with them in exactly the same way, and that's trickier when the screen is in the way.
It is, yeah.
It's still really important.
It's easy to kind of forget that you're talking to a person, not some kind of robot on the other side. That there's a real person that's you're connecting to, and I think that online it's both harder for the reason that you're not seeing them, so that empathy, that natural empathy that you do when you're around real people happens, but also the fact that you're not able to read the body language. Your body language is not there, and there's also a kind of a detachment, I think, generally online. So I do think building those relationships online, I know because I spent years in a real studio working with real people in front of them. So, and I, got very good at doing that. And then when I went on online, it was almost like starting again. I remember getting frustrated, thinking, why aren't these people, connecting? Well, how come I can't reach these people? Like, this is something I've done for years. I'm really good at it. Why can't I do it online? And it is a different experience, and you've got to get used to that. You've got to sort of say, okay, well, there's a different way of communicating online.
Absolutely.
So on that point, what would you say is some of the differences when it comes to connecting online?
Right. Yeah, good question. I feel like the big difference is that the connection is kind of delayed. If somebody's in a room with you and you see them play something, you can, with your knowledge and experience, if you've been teaching for a while, you can see what the issues are, and you can know how to help them and what they're having trouble with. But when you're teaching online, if you're doing it on Skype, you can, or a direct video thing, you can see, but there's still the delay. If you're making a course or something, you have to figure out what the problems are going to be for a variety of people kind of in advance, and embed it in there, which that for me at first was very difficult, because I've always responded to the people in the moment to help them with exactly the thing that they need help with when they need it, rather than providing a kind of watertight solution in advance that will prevent those things happening, because everyone interprets things in slightly different ways and goes off in their own way. Everyone has slightly different hands and hand shapes and this kind of stuff. Some people, maybe they've been driving a truck for like 30 years, and the way they use the muscles of their hand is, it's different to anything you've ever experienced. Their learning experience is different to yours.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
So I would. That's the difference for me, to speak to the people in advance, and to know the problems, and to communicate to your audience, and ask them to get so much input from them, because it's not going to be the situation that you know what is right for them. And
because there's this
not going to happen.
A good analogy that I heard was that communicating with people online is a bit like, imagine having in a guitar lesson, teaching someone who was on a mobile device while you're teaching them, flicking through their Facebook notes and reading. There's all these distractions going on, right? It's very hard for someone online, and that's one of the things that I like about YouTube opposed to Facebook and others, is that you can go on YouTube, put it on full screen, and you don't see any of these other messages. Whereas when you're on Facebook and you're looking at a message from a friend, or even watching a video on Facebook, up pops these other messages. Someone just liked this, and someone liked that, and someone commented here, and so you're so distracted. So I think that we're competing with that, right, with people online.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And the other thing that I kind of want to throw at you and just see what you think is that when you've got a group and you've got that, okay, I've got 100 people in my group, let's just say as a round number, and then you post up something there, that sometimes you post something and nobody responds. It's just like, it's a dead room. And then you put something else up, and then suddenly there's this whole barrage of comments. Is there something, are there tips, are there ways to engage those people? Is there anything that you would say that works better than something else, or something you should avoid or should try?
Like you said, it is partly trial and error. And if you find something that people respond well to, then absolutely listen to that, and listen to what people say. Like in my Facebook group, sometimes people jump in there, and even from the very beginning, and they say things that I just haven't thought about, that I'm like, what? And maybe I don't fully understand it at first. I have to read it through and make sense of it, and have a conversation with that person to get to the bottom. Ask a few kind of whys, and get to the of it, or get to the stage where confidently what you can do to help them. Facebook itself is, although there's a lot of words on Facebook, it's a very visual medium. So if you're making posts and status updates, whether it's on a page or in a group, or even I've seen some people just use their personal thing as well and collect followers that way. You want images that are engaging always, because like you said, the newsfeed moves quickly. There's loads of distracting things. There's loads of stuff going on. And you're sort of competing with that for attention, really. So it's got to be visual, and I think from the very beginning.
So don't post just text. Basically, have an image, right?
Yeah. Do talk about things. Do have text, but don't make a post that doesn't have an image.
Yes.
Absolutely, and it doesn't have to be like big rock star imagery and that kind of thing. It can just be you, even something a bit humorous, a bit entertaining as much as educational. If it's just dry education, some people switch off, even if they really relish that education, because they're on Facebook. People use Facebook for different reasons, but they're on Facebook partly as a form of entertainment.
Yes.
Not a dry educational environment.
Yes, as entertainment, as a distraction from their day. I absolutely agree. Yeah, they're not researching. Yeah, they're not researching. It's not like a Wikipedia experience. They're not looking to learn important information. They're on there just to chill out and relax and have fun. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Sorry, go on. You go. Yeah.
No, I was just going to say, so that's the way to communicate with them. It's conversational between friends. It's visual.
So with a group, starting a group, because I don't think a lot of guitar teachers understand the value of a Facebook group, and so I just want to throw a couple of things in, and then I'll get you to sort of to add your bit as well. One of the things that I did with my clients, I have 50 plus clients that I work with, who I call franchisees, and they're in the US, the UK, etc. And when I started the Facebook group, I didn't expect it to go as well as it did. I was really blown away, and so because I'd had other groups which weren't my clients, where and I've still got some of those groups going, and there's 10 times more people in those groups, yet very little response, very little engagement. But when I created the group around my clients, the engagement was just took off on fire. And I think one of the things that made the difference for me in that group was the fact that I actually knew each one of them, that I'd actually done a Skype call with each and every one of them. So they all knew personally who I was, and the connection was much deeper. So I think that if you can find ways to connect with people, and one of the things I would say is try putting up videos. These videos that I'm doing here, a lot of this is not just that, one aspect of it is that, okay, I'm getting information from you, I'm learning from all the people that I interview, very interesting people in this space, and I'm sure you've probably seen some of them, and the guys who come on here are doing very well in their areas for different reasons. So so number one is I'm getting, I'm learning from myself, but what it's doing is it's putting me up. I can post these into my Facebook groups, and then as people start to watch it, they get to know who I am. So even if I haven't met them, I'm still, this is 50% of it. There's nothing better than meeting them. That's, when the two of you meet, that's the strongest that you're going to get. But at least getting yourself up there, it gets them to know who you are. Because I can say with you, Ian, that meeting you on video here because we had a chat earlier a couple of weeks ago, you came across differently to what you did on your group, and you came across really great. And that's why I wanted to interview you in your group. But when I met you, it wasn't just this happy guy that I kind of was seeing in the group. What I saw was a really genuine person who really believed in what you're doing. And I just saw a different side to you that I wasn't seeing there, and a much stronger connection to you. So that is my thing, is to say, start a group and try and connect with each member, even if it's one by one, no matter how slow you take it, because that's where it starts. You only need a couple of people to get into the conversation, and then other people start to get in the conversation. It builds from there. So with that, what would you what are some of the selling points or strengths or things about a group that you would say on Facebook?
Okay, absolutely. The number one thing about the Facebook group for me, and I've been part of other Facebook groups that not necessarily in the guitar kind of thing, but kind of online communities, is it's a connection. Absolutely, like you're saying. I mean, the connection is not as good as an offline connection or a video-based connection, but over time, I begin to learn more about my audience and that community and the struggles they have with guitar, their interests, what inspires them, and them as people. Like, what else are they into? Like, do they spend their time like watching old John Wayne westerns and stuff like that? You know, what are they really about? Like, what excites them? Like, even like politically and stuff like that. When it's on Facebook, like, what do they care about? Like, what's important to them? What makes them angry? That kind of thing. It's to turn the connection more kind of three-dimensional. And for me, the value in the group, it's not I mean, yes, I do it as a guitar teacher, and I have students that come from the group that join my courses and things. The advantage of the group isn't a financial one. It's that I learn about what I can do for them and what I can create for them and the best ways to help them. It's a shortcut to learn.
So it gives you almost like a focus group where you can sort of say, okay, what do guitar students want? And because if you think about it, if you could bring together 50 or 100 people in a group, then because I know with the G4 program, I can honestly say that most of the development that's happened over the last 2 years, especially, has come from the members. More than me. It used to be that I sort of, laid it out based on my years of teaching experience and working with teachers. I sort of put it together. But then once I got this group going and got the feedback, I've almost gotten a bit lazy because they just got so many ideas, and I'm thinking, well, I don't have to come up with them because they've just got these ideas. And so you can really develop and grow, and based on what's called the lean startup. I don't know if you're aware of that, but the idea of the lean startup. Yeah, you create it based around what the market wants and what kind of response you're getting, rather than sitting in your own little bubble and creating something that nobody really wants. So yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, the validation part of it, that you learn from people as much as possible, and you don't sit away in your bedroom or in your shed or whatever and make this perfect system because you're the guitar teacher and you know what people need. You need to get out there and communicate with people and tailor it to fit a whole variety of people, because they're going to learn guitar in a different way to you. I agree with you with the lean startup stuff. I mean, don't pivot every day, but
no.
learn from people.
Well, I think even he says that, is to pivot, every now and again. In most successful startups, there's probably three major pivots that they have. They don't pivot every week. It's almost like they pivot every couple of years, and most of the pivots come early. So that when you first start your business, you sort of you bring it, because it makes sense, right, that you're going to pivot early, because as you start to develop, you start to see this is not going to work, or this is going against what the market wants, and so that's when you pivot. So to put this in terms for guitar teachers, the market might be that right now they mostly want to play Ed Sheeran songs. Let's just say that Ed Sheeran's all the rage. That's what's happening. But it doesn't mean that in 5 years Ed Sheeran's still going to be the rage. In fact, it's highly unlikely. Something else will come along. So what you want to do is go, okay, well, Ed Sheeran's the inspiration for guitar students right now, but how can we build in a course that goes around those fundamentals so that when the atmosphere changes, that we still have the basic structure. And so even when you pivot, if you look at businesses that have majorly pivoted, they've still kept a lot of those same philosophies and same structure in place. They just pivot in other ways. So.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I think we've really kind of dug down on the groups there, and this is a major thing for you, and that's why I kind of wanted to dig into it. And so it's just sort of round up there. In terms of a Facebook group, we can say that it's a great place to connect. It's a great place to learn about what people want and how to sort of present to them. Is there any other benefits to the group that we need to add before we finish up?
No, it's fun. That's something I'd say. You don't want to spend your time grinding away at something because it's like to earn money. Like, you want to do something do it in a way that you enjoy, and I really enjoy it. Maybe it's not for everybody.
Yeah, no,
but for me, that's definitely a benefit.
Because I agree. The fun. I think it has to be engaging for you. And that's where I see a lot of groups die. Even for myself, a lot of groups that I started and didn't continue on with, I didn't find the group engaging for me. Whereas with my clients, I feel that really engaging. I'm almost addicted to it. Every day I go in there, not just several times a day I go in there, and my clients, they know that I go in there and I look at the questions and I put comments and I get involved. It's so if you don't feel that engagement, then you're probably just trying to sell something that you don't feel inspired about. So I would add that as well. Find something that's engaging for you. Yeah. Like you say, fun, engagement. To me, it's the same thing. When you're engaged, you're obviously enjoying what you're doing. Okay, so let's just go on to a couple of other little things here. So tell me about you. This is, I just want people to see the other side of you here, and just to understand that having sometimes other motivations for doing what you do, and sort of expanding outside, because we led to this in the beginning. So I wanted to, what's your microloans all about? Tell me about what that means. What's a microloan?
Yeah, okay. Microloan, it's sort of well, the story is how I got onto thinking of this stuff. I was starting my own business, teaching guitar privately, and making some money doing that. I felt like, I'm the small guy. Like, what I do is direct with my students and my customers, and it seemed miles away from anything like corporate or anything like that. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't, but it felt like that. I felt like just, the little guy and doing something really direct, and I liked it. I was traveling in Mexico, and this was when I first began teaching. Like, this is maybe about 11 years ago. I went on a trip, and I saw the people there. There's people that are well off, and there's also people that don't have the kind of social security thing, and they need help. And what the people there are doing is they take it on board themselves. Like, maybe they're selling fruit in the street, or they're making rugs, and they're artisans and that kind of stuff. It's all very, very direct, like one-to-one kind of stuff. And or maybe they're like repairing shoes and stuff like that. All kinds of things. And what I thought, it's different to the UK. What the people there, what they need to help themselves kind of better their lives and lift themselves out of poverty, isn't to just get a job in somewhere and that be okay, and that kind of stuff. As I'd grown up thinking, you get a job, you work for somebody, this kind of stuff. I started seeing that the people, like the lady who sells mangoes at the end of the street where I was living, she's in much the same way as I am, to use maybe a bit of a grand word, or it felt like a grand word at the time. Now I think it's a great word. They're an entrepreneur as much as I am, like, and they have a good relationship with their customers, like a strong connection. And I started thinking, maybe I can give back that way, and see things, a bit of a global kind of community, see what I do. And I started seeing what I do in the same way as I saw what they do. And so
brilliant.
What I started doing for every lesson I taught in person, and now it's every monthly member of my membership program, the process, a pound of that goes into a microloan. So what a microloan basically is it's a tiny loan that goes direct to somebody who wants money to help with their business, an entrepreneur in a developing country. And maybe it's to buy some fertilizer or something like that, or
so they can literally loan like a very small amount, just enough to get them started. Is that right? Yeah. Because
or to expand a little bit.
Okay, cool. Because something that I do, and and much to the maybe disappointment of some of my family, is that instead of buying them Christmas presents, gifts, usually of stuff that they don't need, I've actually bought through Oxfam, and if I think Oxfam's an amazing organisation. If for anyone listening, check them out, OXFAM, and you can actually buy a chicken for a donation. So you give the card to whoever, a family member or a gift, and say, okay, I've donated on your behalf, whether you like it or not. I've donated a chicken to a family in Africa or somewhere like that, and then that chicken becomes a starting point for them. The chicken can lay eggs, it can feed them, they can also sell the eggs. Sometimes they can breed the chickens if they've got more. So there's that, just kind of what you're saying there, that ability to get them started, rather than just giving them his money or his food, so to speak, but actually giving them a way to get started as an entrepreneur.
Yeah. Absolutely, that sounds brilliant. I think it's the same kind of thought for somebody to do it for themselves and to help them to do it for themselves.
Yeah, because they don't want to. A lot of the time, I think we misunderstand. These aren't people who are sort of saying I'm helpless, I have no ability to do anything. They're just people who don't have the opportunities that we do, and if they're given just a little bit of opportunity, it can make a world of difference. Is that what you're seeing from where you're at?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. So just for anyone who's interested, where do they go to sort of, if they want to do something about a microloan? Do they just search online? Are there any particular places for them to go?
Okay, there are a variety of organizations that do this kind of stuff, but the one I use, and I spent a very long time researching how it all works and the kind of ethics of it and these kind of things. And now I've got to the point where it's something I really believe in. And the people I use, it's called kiva.org. It's KIVA, .org, and they are the people that kind of connect the people in the developing countries through kind of loaning organizations to the people who are willing to make loans, and that's what I use. I think it's great.
Fantastic. So KIVA.org.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Okay, so let's move on to your other very interesting project, and that's your 99 countries, 99 songs. What does that mean? 99 countries, 99 songs.
Right. What it means is it's a hugely ambitious adventure that I'm trying to do and may not do, may not ultimately complete. But what I'm doing, what I'm in the process of, I'm 7 songs in so far, is I'm traveling around the world. My aim is to visit 99 different countries, and in each country find, write and record a song with them. And that's it, really. I try to incorporate some of the local language. Sometimes I try to get my tongue around it as well, and collaborate, really, meet people, put myself out there, and write a lot of music, which is something I'm really passionate about.
Fantastic. So is Australia on that list yet? Have you got to Australia yet?
It's definitely on the list, but I haven't got there yet.
Okay, well, let us know.
I've never been to Australia, but I'd love to. Yeah.
When you get here, we'll put you in contact and organise a to help you with the song. So yeah, so whenever you're traveling, let us know, and because we've got people around the world. Obviously my wife's Japanese, so I spend a lot of time in Japan as well. So if you get there, keep us in contact. It's great. I think it's really good to have a kind of a project or a goal of some description. I remember seeing just recently, he's actually on it, but Mark Zuckerberg, he wants to visit every state in the US this year. So I don't know how many he's done, but he's going to every single state. Now, he doesn't have to do that. The guy's, got plenty of money. He can do what he wants. He can sit on an island if he wants. But he still, that tells you a lot about who he is. And one of the things that I like to point out is how you look at these entrepreneurs. You look at an Elon Musk. You look at a Bill Gates. These kind of Richard Branson, these high-profile millionaires, they're all doing stuff, right? It's not. We sometimes think that the success has come, through the success is, it's kind of almost a lucky thing that's happened for them, or that they've worked really hard, which they have. They worked really hard and got success for the sake of success. And where I think it's actually quite different to that. I think what we see a lot, and when you look at these guys, is that they just have this drive, and the success comes as a kind of a part of it, if you like. But the drive doesn't go away. So even when they get to whatever point you want to call success, it doesn't stop. You look at Bill Gates and the charity work he's doing with his wife. Look at Elon Musk and the fact that he put everything he had on the line to create, because he wants to get rid of cars that create pollution. He just wants every car to be electric. So you know what I mean? They're driven beyond, and that's what I see with your projects, is that you have that same thing where you've got projects that drive you. It's not about the money. It's not about getting the house and the car and all the rest of it. It's actually that you're driven on a deeper level.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think you're right. Like the really, really good examples, like Mark Zuckerberg. He could sit behind the screen. He doesn't need any more money. He's wildly successful. He's out there meeting people, and if he's doing it, I'm going to have a go as well.
Yeah,
he doesn't have to meet people.
Yeah,
and what people do when they retire, they're not going to stop. They don't go and lay by the pool, do they?
No, not. It's very rare. I mean, I'm sure there's some who sort of work hard. They get there and, okay, now I can just retire and, live on a beach somewhere. I'm sure some of them do that. But I remember reading, hearing an interview, with Kiyosaki, Robert Kiyosaki, who's the kind of rich dad, poor dad guy. And he was saying that, he got to that point where he's financially free, and he was like, yes, now I'm going to retire. And he said he retired, and him and his wife went and they went to some island somewhere. They bought themselves an island, I think in Hawaii, and they just sort of said, all right, let's chill. We're not going to worry about anything now. We're financially free. All our investments are more than paying for everything that we need. So let's just enjoy it. And he said it didn't take long. He was probably about a month or two into it, and he said, I can't do this. I'm just bored out of my brain. So he said, I got to go and do something. And yeah, I think and I've experienced that. I'm not saying that I'm anywhere near these guys, but the financial free side of my life has definitely arrived. And yeah, there's no sitting still. There's just new projects. You just think of something newer and bigger and different to do. So yeah. So
absolutely.
Look, to finish this up, what I want to do, a question that I always ask, are there any books, websites, blogs, anything that you recommend, or any books you've read recently or you're reading now, or any blogs that you enjoy, any podcasts? Is there anything that you would recommend for people to check out?
Oh, wow. Yes, I can't think of anything off the top of my head. I read a lot. Like I try to read a book a week.
What kind of books do you read? Like when you say you read a lot of books, what kind of books?
Around I read a lot of motivational stuff, kind of business kind of stuff, but also just about the world and understanding people. The last book I read that I thought was really good, this was recommended to me, was a book called A Different Kind of Daughter. And it's about Maria Torpake, I think her name is. She grew up in Pakistan in a situation where it was forbidden for girls to play sports. And in the situation she's in now, she's ranked as one of the world ranking squash players, and it's really about her story, and her story is absolutely incredible. It's something from
Pakistan, did you say?
Yeah, from the kind of tribal region. I think it's Waziristan. It's on the border with Afghanistan, so it's an area that's been in a lot of turmoil. And growing up as a child there, and her experiences, and it's incredible. It's written by her, and now she's a world-ranking squash player over an incredible amount of diversity. If she can get out there and do incredible things, probably a lot of people listening to this, myself, we come from a lot lot luckier situation. So we can go and do all of the things that excite us. And
yeah, right.
definitely.
I think books like that are very inspiring. You realize that, that there are these people who just given, a little bit of opportunity, nothing like what most of us have, just a little bit of opportunity, that they grab it and go all the way. I actually played squash when I was a teenager, and I think I remember there was some good players in Pakistan, so I think they play a lot of squash over there. So but we know what the women's rights are like in Pakistan. It's very difficult for them to do anything, whether it be sports or business or anything, where they have a kind of a role that takes them out of the home. So yeah, that's and I love those stories. I love reading stories or hearing stories about people who have come through these challenges, and because there's no such thing as a straight line. Everybody, it's this is how it is. There's no straight path to success. Everybody's looking for it, but it doesn't exist. So that's great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ian, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate. I know you're busy and doing a lot of things at the moment. So yeah, so what's next for you? Just to wrap up, where do you go from here?
Okay, well, thank you. It's been really nice to talk to you. Where I go from here is, well, I work on those three things. I've just been to Barcelona in Spain and written a song with some musicians there. So my next thing is to get that song kind of edited and get it out there, really, and then sort of plan a journey of where I'm going. I'm releasing a new, in the guitar teaching world, I'm releasing a new course focused on strumming for complete beginners over the next few days as well. So
where do people find you, by the way, if they want to look you up?
Right.
Your website or?
Yeah. The best place to get in contact with me is probably my Facebook group, Guitar Learning Questions, to hang out and talk. But if you're interested in my 99 Countries, 99 Songs project, I've got some videos on YouTube, but the website for that is potentialisnothing.com. So that's where I put the stuff up on that. It's a work in progress. And
I'll post that in the bottom, the link here as well. At the bottom of this video, I'll put, the potentialisnothing.com.
Lovely. Cool. Thanks a lot, David.
Right. Brilliant. Thanks, Ian. And just hang on 1 second. I'm just going to sign off, but I'll have a quick chat to you before we go. But thank you, everyone, for dropping by. And there'll be another one up in about a week's time. So stay tuned, and thanks again.